Hi, it's Michael Sheehan, Technology Evangelist for GoGrid, and here I'm with Peter Silva, the Technical Marketing Manager for F5 Networks.
Hi, Michael.
How's it going, Peter?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. So we're at the SysCon Cloud Computing Expo down in Santa Clara, in day 3, and this is actually, I think, part 2 of a little video interview that we've been doing. You can see the other one at Dev Central.
or actually no, it's devcentral.f5.com.
Great. So check out that video first, then come back and watch this one, or
vice versa.
You want.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to know your impressions. I haven't been able to see many of the sessions that were going on because I've been stuck with booth duty. But you've been in and seen a few. So what are some of the common themes or things that you found particularly interesting about this conference?
So the first thing, as we maybe mentioned in the last video, was that the hybrid cloud seems to be emerging as the cloud of choice.
Sure.
That many enterprises are diving into the cloud with private clouds because they have a little bit more control, or actually they have most control, and are still a bit hesitant going to the public. And there seems to be this fluffing up of the froth, if you will, to where the hybrid cloud might be, what becomes the cloud of the future, a mix of on-premise, a mix of off-premise, a mix of private, a mix of public, depending on the applications that need to be delivered and the users that are accessing them. I've noticed that many people bring up security as a top concern, and it's in all the surveys. You guys have seen the surveys, and everybody lists security as one. One of the things I found here is that a lot of the vendors are trying to dispel those myths, that there certainly are concerns, particularly with compliance, particularly with regulations, but that there are ways to solve it. One of the presentations talked about, if it's architected right, just with anything, if you do it right, then you will be okay.
Right.
You will be secure.
Right.
Another interesting thing I found is this idea of vendors baking security into the image itself. Where customers, you get the image and you start working on it, but the customer still needs to sort of worry about all the security aspects, whether the code is being locked down and ports being closed and those sorts of things, where vendors are now baking in their best practices of security into the image before it gets sent up. It gets sent up to the cloud for deployment. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So obviously F5 and GoGrid, we have a great relationship. We always point to the little F5 logos on the load balancers.
Cool GoGrid hat.
That's right. That's right. So it's a really great partnership. I don't know if you want to talk about some of the other things that GoGrid or F5 users don't know about, and we talked about the ability of tunneling.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Well, one of the cool things, if you guys hadn't realized, the big IPs are in a strategic control point in the data center, and we actually have like 9 of the top 10 cloud providers as customers, and so we are enabling the cloud.
Sure.
But one of the cool things with your deployment, having the big IPs there at the facility, is with our most recent release of version 10, we have this feature called iSessions. And they are secure encrypted tunnels that you can build from big IP to big IP and establish a secure connection between those devices. And so customers who are on the GoGrid platform and might have a big IP in-house, they can essentially securely send their data to GoGrid and not worry about eavesdropping or hacking or listening in or any of those concerns that we previously spoke about, those security concerns of data in transit or data at rest, going back and forth from the enterprise to the data center.
Right, so cloud bursting is total reality, easy to do.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's great. So any other thoughts about the Expo or the direction maybe you see 2010 for cloud computing, anything like that?
So it's been hype over the last couple of years, and I think
we're still defining what it is.
Yeah, right. Many people, in fact, we just did a survey a couple of months ago that had a definition and a number of people answering questions, and kind of dissolved up into a working definition. Although we still hear people kind of saying, well, this is our definition of, or this is these guys' definition.
What's going to go into Webster's, right?
Yeah, right. Or the standards. That's probably where ultimately where it needs to be.
Right.
But I think it's here to stay now. I think that's really, where before virtualization or that idea of virtualization was kind of like, this hot topic, and it was kind of maybe the precursor. But if you even go back further, there's the SOA stuff and the ASPs even before that. And I think it's just the gradual maturity of a technology that starts out in bits and pieces, and then over time, finally comes together into a viable solution once all of those fears get resolved.
I mean, it's moved from obviously a buzzword to, and I'm not sure if it's a technology or if it's an IT practice. I think people are still trying to figure out which it really is.
I think it ultimately is just another option for IT, another option for the CIO, the CTO to deploy their services.
Right.
I think that's what it really comes down to. We could do it in-house. We could do it at a hosting provider on a shared server. We could do it at an old Exodus data center.
Right.
I used to work for Exodus, so that's why I have a little fond affection for that stuff. Where today the cloud, it just becomes, it's another option.
Yep.
And again, depending on the application, depending on your users, depending how you want to do your CapEx, OpEx, budgeting,
right.
All those sorts of things, it just becomes another option. It does, though, eliminate a barrier, say, for a lot of smaller business, the SMBs, who might not have that initial capital to build out a cage or their own infrastructure, their own hardware, buying licenses, buying software. I think it removes a barrier of entry for a lot of the SMBs to then be able to deploy applications online.
Yep, and innovate.
It's going to
totally drive innovation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Peter. Where can we find you?
So you can find F5 at www.f5.com, and also on Twitter as @Pasilvas, P-S-I-L-V-A-S.
Great.
Or at F5 Networks too. So I don't want to.
We all have lots of Twitter accounts.
Yeah. We were talking about nomenclature yesterday. That'll be another video blog.
Great. So I'm Michael Sheehan, the technology evangelist for GoGrid. You can find GoGrid at www.gogrid.com. And you can follow me on Twitter as @HightechDad, and GoGrid is @GoGrid. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.